Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination fly. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair.
Hello and welcome to an extremely abbreviated version of the Midnight Express, literally taking place at midnight. I'm your host, might be solo tonight, not sure. This is just a hi, hello, like I said in the description, just because I don't know how often I'm going to be able to stream. I got a huge sale at the center this week. Obviously, later on today, we have the release of Batman, Absolute Batman number 15. It's going to be that's probably going to be even a good chunk of my walkthrough coming into the day. So I got a special sale attached to that as far as the Joker goes. If you come in over the weekend, you'll get a free button celebrating the character of the Joker. This weekend, one of our topics when we do hit the air will be the Joker, the evolution of the Joker, both in the Absolute Universe and the Standard Universe, his evolution over the past nearly 90 years of existence. Going from his first appearance in Batman #1 all the way through the Killing Joke, all the way to Absolute Joker. So we'll show you all different phases. Hopefully by that time I will have my interview done. Fingers crossed, depending on, because this schedule is about to get real bonkers. So with Scott Snyder, if I have that, we'll have that link ready for you guys as soon. I'm not sure when it's going to happen, how it's going to happen, or whether it's going to be live or pre-recorded. It all going to depend on his availability, his schedule, and when and if it happens. So, but like I said, that's just today is going to be about maybe 15-20 minute show. So depending on what you guys bring. Does Paramount still have a chance? Yeah, they still have a chance. I don't think it's going to turn out in their favor. I know they put a big, huge, inflated deal. If I were a betting man, I would say now. I would say the Netflix deal. Plus, Netflix. People think Netflix has those kind of limits. Netflix has the money to go outbid them if they want to. If they really want this franchise, they can outbid the Ellisons. Now, one of the sticking points that some of the shareholders had an issue with is how much foreign money Paramount has had to go to the Saudis, Jared Kushner's Middle East firm, and a whole bunch of other foreign entities. And there is some skepticism about, do a lot of the shareholders or do people in general want that much foreign influence over the entire linear existence of WB? That includes CNN. So yeah, it's it's gonna get ugly. Who knows? But I think at the end of the day, if Netflix really wants it, I think they can outbid. No problem. I think they can outbid Paramount. Yeah, and that's a much more valuable company than they would be getting right now. So I don't know how many of you got this notification, because I still not have gotten the notification yet. So might be talking to ourselves in the next 10-15 minutes, because it's the middle of the night. And let's see, split view makes it easier to multitask. No, I don't want to. Yeah, so I'll have my review of Absolute Batman number 15 later on today. I've read it, so it's good. You guys are going to enjoy it. All right, looks like the notifications are starting to go out, so I'll give you guys a couple of times. Check some emails here. Multitask. Don't know if I'm gonna have a co-host tonight. Like I said, I did not plan the stream. There's probably gonna be most nights, Nick, with Brad being on the East Coast, where I don't have Brad until the holidays over. Let's see here. Bam. Maybe later. No, I don't think Netflix, to be honest with you, is a monopoly. A lot of people are claiming it is because they're not a studio in a sense. Paramount buying them would be, Fox buying them would be, but I don't know if it breaches the 30% rule that the FCC likes to stop people at, because they don't want anybody to have more than 30% of the market share. But I'm looking at Paramount and I'm like, well, that they would be approaching that as well, Let's see. Come on. I'm doing. Why is my internet so slow? We'll let that work itself out. But now, monopoly is when you have nowhere else to go. Having less places to go for employment and for choices is not a monopoly. Having nowhere to go, or almost no, there is still plenty of landscape, even no matter who does his purchase. So I don't know if that will be considered a monopoly. Let's see. What are my options here? Total balance. Let's go 277. Ooh, none of those are good. Let's see. All right, let's go back here. See what these options are. Schedule. Ooh, they all suck. Okay, probably have to call them. I have not heard those rumors. I don't know. Like I said, the notifications are still going out. Something's like, I'm starting to see my numbers go up as people realize that this stream is going live. Hello, how you doing, Ozzy? All right, so we're gonna have to fix that later. Email myself. Take this. Sorry, I'm turning myself a bunch of reminders and emails because I'm really horrible about getting things done during the holidays. So let me do this. Still can't shake this fucking cough. And there we go. I don't need the subject. Spare. Bam. I don't know. I haven't. My mind has not gotten that far into the process yet, Rational. So yeah, and the more I hear about the Paramount deal, the less I like about it. I just don't like. Even though Kushner and the Saudis said they won't have any say in how the companies ran, it's hard to believe that they're going to put forth that much money and not put any pressure, or even if it's implied pressure. I don't like it. I just don't like the deal. So. Okie dokie. Lots of shit. Let's see. Just checking on my messages. I was off the web for most of the day, just getting things done, making buttons. I'm thinking about ordering a 3D printer to make little trinkets and stuff for the store. Got to see which one I want, which one fits what I want to do. So I've just been like just doing all that kind of stuff. Let's see. All right, Brad just shared the post, so that might be him coming in. But yeah, just like I said, the more the process goes on, the less I like the Paramount option. So, all right, so let's look at what Scott Snyder's been posting. Because, like I said, we're supposed to interview him, but I don't expect it to be like right away, simply because of he's probably getting interviews by way bigger YouTubers than me right now. But he has committed to it, so I'm going to be patient. Let's look at his page. So this is what he's posting. I mean, and I got all the variants coming in, so I'm good there. So here's the main A cover right there. That's going to be the one that I'm going to end up having the most of, and looks like it's a Joker card, and with that demonic looking version of the Joker. I have read it, and I have seen I've seen his origin story and what he truly is. There's another cover that I'll have in the store tomorrow. This looks all fucked up. Let's see, and this is one of the variants as well. I mean, all of these just look horrific, but every villain that Batman seems to um, get, and this is the first page of the issue, the Joker. It's literally just called the Joker. So it's gonna be a big day, and there's some of the covers that some people have picked up. They can't put them. They're not putting them on shelf till tomorrow, but this is one of the first pages of it. This is the origin page right there. I won't read that to you. I want you guys to go read it yourselves. But yeah, there we go. Can't wait to dive deep into all this. Let's see. I think anything that is not a linear network is going to go with the Warner Brothers studios, comics, toys, any of those. Anything that's attached to an IP or entertainment wise is going to go with Warner Brothers Studios, and then the Paramount, the Global, the Discovery Global will consume everything else. Anything that requires programming or production of programming is going to go in one direction. So I think Warner Brothers Records and anything like that is going to go with the Zaslav Group. Oh, damn it. Okay, I just got the notification that I'm live. That's hilarious. Here we go. Kind of heard that right now. I don't think you guys heard that in the background. Let's see. Just checking through all my. Yeah, I don't know what Nicolas Cage movie this is, because not the biggest Cage fan in the world. I can respect him, but yeah, I saw this last night, and this is actually in a movie. This is in a movie. This is in a movie. This is what he's wearing on his army uniform. This is when you just don't give a fuck right here. This is when you just don't care. I don't know if he's Army or Marine. He's got the Marine Globe and Anchor above his two ribbons that don't make any sense. He's got his BRM badge and his grenade badge in an area that where they don't go. It doesn't matter because the whole fucking uniform is shot, so it doesn't matter. That tie, I don't know where he dug that tie out of from, but the most egregious one is the one image on the right. He has a Spec 4 E4 patch under a private E2 badge. You're either one or the other. So I don't know what movie is, but this is horrible. Oh, Green Isle. Green Isle is the movie. I don't need to see this movie. I don't need, my soul does not need to see this movie. I will not make it past any of this shit without shredding this movie. So yeah, there you go. What, guys? It's not that expensive. I will do it for a fat burger. You buy me a fat burger, and while I'm eating that 2 pounds of happiness, anything. I don't know everything, but apparently I know more or care more than those good cats do. So yeah, that just seeing that, it just hurts my eyes. Academy Award winner there, so it's not some B level. Yeah, it might not have been the highest budget, but it doesn't cost much. Fat burger costs you $20. Give me a fat burger and just ask me anything you want while I gobble it down. I mean, what's so hard about this? Oh my goodness. Did I ever start Gotham by Gaslight Kryptonian Age? No, I have not. I need to. I need to. That's on my list. Yeah, that's going to be a separate purchase, isn't it, though? Isn't it free for movies to have U.S. military assist? I mean, yeah, usually the military will cut a deal as long as they can put some kind of, recruitment video or something, or, it's something happens. But, like I said, free fat burger, a coffee, I'll do it for you. It's just kind of sad that happens. My goodness. Horrible, 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 horrible. What else? Did anything else make me sick today? Nothing much. Pretty slow day. I mean, the Warner Brothers thing is like, like consumed everything. But for the most part, let's see who retweeted this. All right. Well, now it just shows not everybody who retweets my stuff is right. I was in E5. I was about to do E6, and I decided to get out. We're supposed to get the Supergirl teaser trailer, whatever it is, on Thursday. What's going on, Fourth? So what do you guys got for me before I start doing the stuff I need to do to head off to bed? How's everybody's pre-holiday going? I mean, let's see if you're here before. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just looking at stuff. Can't post comments. If I'm talking to myself, because I got a bunch of screens up. Yeah. I'm trying to answer some questions that people left on the comment section. I got nothing. Just watching Toxic Avengers 2 movies. Classic stuff. Yeah, I got to get with Lloyd and do something. Get something going with Trauma. Got my Trauma section going. Brad looks like he's trying to come in, but his devices are not connected. So, yeah, we have a PAO, a Public Affairs Office. I mean, there's enough of us have been in the military to where there's somebody's available. Somebody's available. You buy them lunch or dinner and you say, hey, how should this look? Or if you have some goofy setup like I just showed you there, you show it to them, they're going to look at it and laugh at you. Then you know you're wrong. I mean, within a half hour, you got everything you need. It's not going to take that long. I can show you some of the pictures of me in a uniform. It's not, there's no excuse for it. That's what I'm saying. It's not like it's some expensive thing. And people like to say, well, it's against the law for the military to use exact things to the stolen valor. No, that's bullshit. I've heard that for years. No, they're just fucking lazy. Stolen valor is when you try to claim other people's accomplishments or try to claim accomplishments that you do. Like if I put a medal of honor around my neck and actually claimed to do the stuff that do the things that garners that award, that's stolen valor. If I say I served here and there and I didn't serve anywhere near there, that's stolen valor. If you are an actor and making a movie, it is automatically fiction. So when John Wayne did the Green Berets and looked exactly like the Green Berets did at the time he was doing that movie, we knew that was fiction. Now, if John Wayne came out and started walking around wearing a Green Beret saying, I served in Vietnam as is the U.S. Army Special, that's stolen valor. So no, you can, if you are presenting an act of fiction, you can portray that no problem. They just, I don't know. I guess they assume that the majority of people are just not going to know. I mean, I think that's kind of fucking lazy. If you're gonna listen, if you're gonna pay even on a low end, if you're gonna pay the money to have Nicolas Cage in your film, you can buy me a coffee and make sure that he doesn't look like a fucking fool like he does in that picture. Here's Brad.
Anyway.
Yeah, this is just no excuse for it. I'm sorry.
Are we talking about like erroneous U.S. military representation?
It's a really bad one. I had it up on the screen, and it's bad. It's one of the worst I've seen. Like I said, I'm not the biggest Nicolas Cage fan in the world, but he is Academy Award winner. He is somebody that you have to pay something above just food stamps to get him in your movie.
He's not an Academy Award winner for what he should be an Academy Award winner for, though, which is of course Face Off. That's his greatest performance. That is by far his greatest performance. Is Face Off. His face off.
I don't even like that movie. I like John Travolta. I love John Travolta. That movie was just cliche for me. It had a clever thing about it. No, it had something clever going for it, but it wasn't supported throughout the movie. It's like what made that movie special? There's not enough of it in the movie, to be honest with you. They got something there, and they just don't utilize it throughout the movie enough. And it becomes cliche Nicolas Cage and 90s John Travolta. Nothing more. I don't know whether it's a screenplay. I don't know whether it's them at that point of their careers where they're like, they basically, well, I'm going to show up. I'm John Travolta. You know who I am. And I'm Nicolas Cage. You know who I am. And that's all we need. No, that movie needed them to do a little bit better than they did. That's probably of the John Travolta movies that I do like. Face Off is probably one of the more underwhelming ones. But people who just, like I said, you're allowed to shrink your brain and just like action. And I'm not going to knock you for it because I'm that guy sometimes. But that movie's nothing more than a cliche acting movie that had a lot more going for it than it gives you.
By the way, it was originally going to be when it was scripted. This would have been kind of cool. When they scripted it, originally it was going to be like the first team up of Arnold Schwarzenegger and Sylvester Stallone. So that would have been
fucking horrible.
No, that would have been. I could have been
down. Fucking horrible.
He should have won for that though. That was his Oscar.
Are you serious? Okay, clearly, geez, it's not like the standard of the Academy Awards are great, but yours would be. I would have to throw you out of the office.
It's the same reason why Mission Impossible 2 is the best Mission Impossible.
All right. Okay, now that I know you're not being serious, so here we have. I'm ignoring you. Here we have Everything Is Wrong.
This does not look good at all.
So yeah, and that's like I said, you got an Academy Award winner.
First of all, this looks.
He should not have won for Leaving Las Vegas.
If
there's a movie he should have won, this is from a movie called Green Isle.
Did this come out recently?
No, I don't know when. It had to be because he looks old.
This looks like this is like some like Spirit Halloween stuff they got here. I mean,
this is bad. He should have won if he was gonna win, he should have won for City of Angels. By the way, that was his best movie.
This is not good.
His best movie.
This does not. It's very threadbare for This was nobody was consulted with the making of that uniform.
Yeah, just for the conversation alone, just to get me talking, I might have told you everything you know without even. It's a prison sentence, so it's not worth it. I mean, that better be some good. That one would be the best you've ever had because it's a federal crime. No woman is worth federal crime. That's literally a federal crime. So no, don't do it.
There's a good story. I remember reading about this. I think I mentioned a couple of times on here when this was back with Spike TV. The show Deadliest Warrior on season 3, like the computer programmer, simulation guy they had on it. He was credited, or he presented himself when they brought him on as he was an ex-Green Beret.
Yeah, you told me about this. Yeah.
It's like, again, I just don't. How did he think nobody was going to Google him?
And you can be arrested for that. That's no joke. You can be arrested, and it's like a $35,000 fine. I think you
Well,
can be
it's
arrested
not.
for that.
Yeah, it's not that hard to find. I one of the people who investigated that. They had this perfect quote for it. It was it's they said being a Green Beret is like being pregnant. You either are or you aren't.
Yeah, most people that they scam that stuff on are people who don't know anything about the military. You don't see them going up to somebody in the military and talking about medals and stuff that they got, and that you wouldn't see that because there's ways that we would know immediately ways to find out, about that if we're that serious about finding out. An average civilian's not going to know, a fucking Green Beret from a rabbit. So they wouldn't know or care. But if you were talking amongst compatriots about that stuff, we might, well, especially because usually somebody who's going to lie about that starts lying about things that you start thinking as a soldier that or an airman that you're like, okay, that's not way that when you've been somewhere, the language of how, not just the language of the country, but the atmosphere that you were in, and you can recognize that in everyone that you see there. Once you start lying, it's really easy to pick up. But when, like I said, civilians who don't know, like I said, the same type of people who dressed up Nicolas Cage in that picture represent the majority. Remember, only 1% of us have ever done this. So the other 99% probably wouldn't know Oakley from a
Well,
mushroom if you didn't
I don't
tell
know.
them.
But even with that, I think that the uniform was pretty lackluster.
I guarantee you there were people sitting in that audience that saw that movie that were okay with that. The vast majority of them. Once again, if I would have been sitting in the audience, I would not have been one of them. But if there was an audience of 100, 99 of those people wouldn't know shit. They just wouldn't know it because it's not their culture. If you weren't in it or grow up around it, there's a good chance, more than probably likely chance, you don't know any of that stuff. But it's still, why take the chance of looking stupid?
Probably had him
Uh,
salute like this too, like the Boy Scout salute. That's probably what they had him do.
See, I'm not a big critic on the salute because everybody fucks it up. So it's like, fucking up a salute can be corrected. Fucking up a uniform is
Yeah,
something that should never
I but
be
I
allowed.
but I give that but I give extra points when they actually because it's so often screwed up cinematically that when they
I
do
know
actually
two-star
get it right,
generals. I know a two-star general overseas that screwed it up. He's been in the, he is the military.
when they do get it right, when they do get it right, it's like I always give extra points. There's two movies I can think of offhand I know they got it right. One of them is actually BVS. It's at Superman's funeral where what at where one of the generals is handing Swanwick the flag and they do the salute like that. They get the salute right there. And then the other one was it's a Michael Jai White movie called Falcon Rising, where he's an ex soldier and he's dealing with PTSD. He's actually like in the opening scene, he's like contemplating suicide and he's playing Russian roulette. And like as he's got the gun to his head, he does the salute and salutes like that. So I've seen it 2 times offhand that I can recall.
I've seen a bunch of times, and most military movies that like Private Ryan, like Black Hawk Down, Zero Dark Threat. There's all kinds of places where the military stuff is done right, because they know that if it's the subject of your movie and it's a big budget movie, you really should get it done right. Sometimes you don't have the money. Like Stargate SG-1 did not have the money for advisors apparently because they fucked those uniforms up, and then they fixed it though as they got more money and had a military advisor on that show. You saw because there's a 2-star general, Don Davis, as a matter of fact. Rest in peace, Don Davis. His Air Force, he was a major general in the Air Force. They went and got a general in the Air Force to make sure that not only his stars and his placement were right, his mannerisms were right, his hat was right, his ribbons. If you go to Stargate HD1 and look at I forgot what the general, I know Don S. Davis is his name, but General Hammond. If you look at General Hammond's ribbons, every one of his ribbons from top to bottom are right and in the order they are supposed to be in. That's how you can do it. You can actually get away with the little shit. You can get away with the ribbons if it's not a military person like scrutinizing it. You can get away with the ribbons because there are military people that don't know the order of the way the ribbons are supposed to be. But there are those. But if you look at it, if he's on screen long enough to where you start looking at his ribbons And if you got a military person that says I was in OIF, I was in an Operation Enduring Freedom, you should be able to see it on their ribbons. You can literally see the Iraqi flag ribbon on their ribbon. If you go to your dad's if you're with your dad right now, he most likely, like every retired NTO I know.
Oh yeah, he's got
he has that ribbon cage. Now your dad was in if I looked at your dad's ribbons, I can see his campaigns. He's going to have 2 campaigns. He's going to have an Afghanistan one, and he's going to have a global war on terrorism. I'm going to look dead for that because I have those. I have the Iraqi freedom one. I didn't go to Afghanistan. So, but you can see the Afghani flag, and you can see the global war on terrorism one. So when I see people who are talking about, well, when we were in Iraq and Afghanistan, and then their ribbons don't say so, and it's the easiest ribbon to find. The OIF ribbon or Enduring Freedom, those are the 2 easiest ribbons because they are literally foreign flags. You can't miss them. So the only one easier to find is the National Defense ribbon, which everybody gets. You get that for falling out of graduation basic training. Once you graduate basic training, you get the national. Everybody gets the national. You see junior officers who are like right behind the ears. They got one ribbon. It's the National Defense ribbon. Everybody gets it, and we were all proud of that fucking ribbon too. We're like, yeah, I got a ribbon, man. And then all your medals, and then all your valor, all that stuff. So, and ironically, when you look at Casey Ryback, aside from that abysmal poster, you see his ribbons and their placement and all that stuff. All the stuff he would have been through, it's right in the ribbons. And then where his trident is at the top because it's the highest.
Yeah, I'll ask my dad if I can make some snapshots of his ribbon case and
you'll know which ones. Even as a non-military, you're affiliated, you'll be able to see his combat ribbons.
Well, because he was active duty in the first Gulf War, and then he was
he's gonna have the Kuwaiti flag.
Yeah.
So
kinds of ribbons. And then he was a civilian employee.
Hey, you won't get no ribbons for that. You just get a fat check for that.
Yeah, that picture I showed for his birthday. It's like again, he wasn't active duty at that point, but he's still deployable. So
but I had some bones to pick for this uniform that day, but I didn't know the circumstances.
My dad's
what's going on in that? What is he about to do there? What's going on?
He was that was when he took him to the to the base airport. He was getting ready to fly to Afghanistan that day.
Okay, so why okay, is he wearing a Gore-Tex in that picture?
I need to ask him about that. I mean, it was literally 16 years ago.
Yeah, because I know there's a good reason. Because like I said, he's not one of these goofy advisors. He's actually the real deal.
And again, I mean, bring it slightly back to the I'm sure I don't know if you talked about the merger craziness with Paramount's hostile takeover. That's really, but that's one thing he really impressed.
I don't like where they're getting this money from. I got a problem with some of this.
And see,
they're upping their bid because they're getting the Saudis to get involved. I got a problem.
But first of all, I'm really getting the impression of this that this is the first time is in his life that David Ellison has been told no about anything. Clearly, but like one thing, I mean, it relates to the Saudi element of it because that's where my dad was deployed when he's in the first Gulf War, and he. Like one thing he really impressed on me, I didn't like ask maybe because I was a little kid when he went over there, but when I started asking more about that as I got older, and then when the Iraqi freedom started, he told one thing he really impressed on me was, there he is. This was November.
He is not in military uniform here. He is not in military uniform here. So everything's okay.
Because at this point he retired from active duty in 2005, like right when I was graduating. I graduated from high school at the same time he was retiring, but he was still he was a civilian employee for about another 10 or 12 years after that.
Yeah, so. If you look close on his offhand, a non-coffee hand there, it says DA civilian.
Yeah.
So that's okay. I actually thought he was dressed. No, he's a DA civilian. Okay. Yeah, but yeah, once you get that shit, I still got my we call those chocolate chips, and we got get them back before they went to the ACUs. We were the digital camo. This is what you got. Once you got these, you spent your entire pre-mobilization in the green camo that everybody knows. And then once you went and got fitted for these, you got these. Your ass is getting on that plane. There was no turning back. So
yeah. But one thing he really impressed on me when he was and by the way, that's that desert camo, and that's the same thing he had. He was active duty when he went to Saudi Arabia, but again, that's what they put you in. They put you in desert camo.
Yeah, those are camo for
But he,
everything up until recent.
one thing he really impressed on me from you because I started inquiring more as I got older, and when after 9/11 went to Iraq and everything, and one thing he really impressed is the idea or the conception that we have in the West of like the Middle East as being very impoverished and very, um, just across the board, just very, just not technologically, economically on the same tiers like a lot of the Western world maybe is the way to put it. And not that that's totally inaccurate. I mean, like Afghanistan's definitely probably the most one of the I had a teacher in high school said they're one of, if not the poorest country on earth is Afghanistan. But he, what he told me about Saudi Arabia is that, I mean, everything you've heard about poverty in the Middle East, that is not the case. And
Nah, they're living at a high standard in Saudi. They're living at a
I
high
mean,
standard.
everything he told me, I mean, it's like just wealth, like beyond your
Kuwait,
wildest dreams.
and the average person who's not associated with the royal family is still doing well.
Yeah,
There are some other issues that they're cultural issues, but yeah. What's wrong with money overseas? A lot. That's like saying someone from overseas saying, "I don't like where the money is coming from the U.S." All right. Well, when we send money overseas, it's usually to prop up governments and finance existence. We're not taking over. We're not buying an entertainment company, and we're not doing it so that we can get control of a news network. One of the major things that David Ellison and they want control of CNN. That's a big thing, and that's one of the things that one of these shareholders found as a sticking point is that not only has he openly stated that he wants to do this, David Ellison and Larry Ellison, but he's getting foreign money to do that. So now you're going to have an American news agency, American-based news agency with foreign influence. We haven't done that overseas. We've put money overseas. You can invest, like I said, it's not illegal for them to do so, but the people, the Warner Brothers shareholders, they were a little bit taken aback of that, from what I understand. And as an American citizen, I would need assurances that there's not going to be that kind of influence over an
you said that
American news
before, yeah.
agency. Yeah.
You said that before, not just with the news agency part, but just with the also with like the entertainment, like just on
Yeah, the
any level. It's
censorship
like,
and everything else.
yeah.
I'm not a big, listen, I'm not a, no, no, none of them are, as a matter of fact. No, none of them. You NBC's, MSNBC, all legacy media, as far as I know, are all American. This is why this would be such a big deal. Um,
And actually, what do you think? Because I meant to
hold
ask.
on, hold your thought. Let me finish
Mm,
answering his question
mm.
because I'm going to forget. When it comes to U.S. rules, laws, and regulations, I'm always going to be a little bit squeamish when foreign money comes in, because money is a way to influence things to go in your favor. And once you put that money down, you expect something back for it. And when you're talking about a global economy, a global anything, I'm not a big fan of foreign money ever playing a factor in anything when it comes to influence. When you're talking about investment and things like that, that's one thing. But you're talking about a stated goal of influence, and that's where I'm a little bit more standoffish about it. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, so um, just kind of curious about like when with this development, they're going to attempting a hostile takeover and like you're really upping the bid with like more foreign money. I mean, do you think this increases their? I think it's probably going to do, if anything, repel Warner Brothers a lot more from
Well,
wanting to say.
so I watched one analyst on MS or MS Now, whatever the hell they're called now. I think this puts Paramount in the driver's seat, and I'm like, okay, you're the first person I've heard say that. I've heard, for the most part, whenever the TV I'm watching, is that if Netflix wants to outbid them, they can. Remember, Paramount Global and Skydance had to go get money from the Saudis and everybody else to make this bid. Netflix just has to go and say, remember that $4 billion a month we pulled in? You know, so I think that Netflix could outbid if Netflix wants it, it's theirs for the taking. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and now
Um,
it's, I think I think I'm in the same boat with you where it's like now it's like I'm actively, and not just for like attachment to any particular, something else at their top, but now I'm like I'm
which
actively
is
rooting for
so
Netflix.
I'm sorry, so far down the priority scale. I
But
hate to break it
well,
to you, man.
well, but now it's like I'm actively, this makes me even more of like a Netflix cheerleader for it because it's like, yeah, it's like okay, Paramount is pulling this gonna shit on it. Yeah, I can't. I don't. I'm not. I'm not down with that.
I just don't like to listen to that. Okay, this isn't. You guys can't just make the same equation. First of all, we're the United States. Period. We're the United States. We have a system of government, even if you don't like the players at time, that for the most part has laws embedded into it so that these influences don't happen. So that you don't have foreign elements influencing uh, what we practice here by laws, period. Now, if another company, China limits what foreign companies can do because they, for better or for worse, don't want those foreign entities to be able to influence their culture or their laws. So you're talking about the United States, which is the world's largest economy. We're the world's largest consumers. Whatever we do as far as influence political regulation needs to be based on the laws we've set up in this country and not by anybody's influence. Otherwise, you could have a bad actor. Once you open the door for that, you could have a bad actor whose interests are not American interest. And that's the job of the Congress. That's the job of the president. That's the job of the Senate. That's the job of the regulators to act in the best interest of the United States, and so that we are wholly influenced when it comes to our laws. When it comes to our laws, our regulatory authority, they're set up there for a reason. There's a reason why there's a process there. Now, when we invest, we invested billions in Germany and rebuilt Germany, rebuilt Japan. We don't influence. We don't buy networks. There are no American known
We
networks
have
over
bases there to this
in
day.
Germany. There are no American owned networks that influence that are Japanese ran networks that are American owned that influence the Japanese government. We actually have laws against us doing that. So no, it's not the same. What were you saying?
I said we have bases there in both those countries to this day. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, I'm not a big fan of having foreign influence when it comes to things that are eradicated. Foreign influence in general, foreign culture in general, that's not a problem. Where America's full of people from all over the world. But when you're talking about in a foreign entity from somewhere with interest other than, in my opinion, that are not consistent with ours, I think it's the job of our Congress people, no matter what side of the aisle they feel on, to keep an eye out. You know, they're our voice in that matter. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of this right now.
Aaron's got a couple of comments I want to bring up here. We got the first poster in for a second. Yeah, and we got the teaser for it too. The poster Robin Day. And actually, by the way, Aaron, something else you might I'm gonna share real quick that you
Seriously, guys.
what's fantastical. Oh, completed. Trailer, please. Aaron is like, we are so ready for it.
You could have messaged Aaron this.
Yeah.
That is your audience for this is one person. You could have messaged her that.
Yeah, but it's more fun if I hijack the show and like tell everybody about it.
Okay. Then make people look at you like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
And Aaron's also got the Brad is doing a bad salute in films as bad or worse, it seems. Aaron, it's funny you should mention that because in the school, you'd be amazed, like little kids like learning martial arts, how I'm talking about like 5, 6-year-olds, how often they make a fist like this. And, yeah, there we go. With your thumb tucked inside. I don't think I need to tell everybody the dangers of punching somebody like that. So, but little kids, like they'll do that. If you're an adult, you do that, and that's like, yeah, that is pretty egregious. So, yeah, that'd be pretty bad. I'd say they're about equal. If I saw that in a movie, that's probably more because, like William says, like even like 4-star generals, like screw up the salute. So I would say this would be far more egregious.
At this point, regardless who's going to buy Warner Brothers, this sucks. It's the fourth time the company has been getting through. It's pretty sad. Honestly, I don't really care anymore for what's planned down the line. I'll be seeing what the leftover schedule is before it gets purchased. The Batman 2, Mortal Kombat 2, we can do without. Dune 2, and after I'm good. I agree. Since I've been on YouTube, this is the fourth ownership. Since I've been on YouTube, either the Point Action Lounge or this show, we've had, when we started this show, it was AT&T. Went from AT&T to Discovery, from Discovery to Netflix. So what, that's that 3 or 4 ownerships? Actually, more. No, because it was because when I first got on, it was being acquired by AT&T, if I can remember it quite. So yeah, it's not in 10 years. It's been 4. Now we're working on what this will be number 4 or 5. It's not good. We shouldn't be able to count up to 2 or 3 for the world's oldest studio. So yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yeah, the Marshall Plan. We literally rebuilt Europe. We literally built Europe, and then we pulled out of there. Now, people think that there was the occupation of Japan ended in the 50s. Once MacArthur left, that occupation was there is no such thing as a permanent U.S. occupation that's not U.S. territory. We are not occupying Europe and Germany. We stayed there on treaties. The bases in Okinawa and in Japan and the Pacific Fleet were there. In the Philippines were there with treaties. And in the Philippines, they eventually did not renew the treaties, and we pulled out to get bases at Diego Garcia. We pulled out. But we didn't. We could have influenced and said, "Oh, we want to stay here. We could, just buy one of your news." We just don't do that. It's not been American code, in my opinion.
Yeah. But again, that brings it back to with this hot takeover attempt. Like, I mean, do you think that ups their Paramount's chance? Again, I think this since that letter, I think their chances just keep getting lower and lower and lower and lower for.
Well, you have one guy who handles a lot of these funds who said he's going to recommend that his stockholders take the Paramount offers to sell, but he's not doing that for an end game. He's doing that because he wants to drive up the price. Because I would be heavily shocked if Netflix didn't make a counterbid.
Oh yeah.
Netflix has fuck you money, and they have it at their disposal. They don't have to go anywhere. They don't have to. It's a phone call. It's like I said. They don't have to get any money from any other entity other than the banks and the people that are already made so much money off of them. If Netflix right now it's 108 billion, so they're outbidding them by like a lot. You think Netflix doesn't have another 30 or 40 billion dollars? If they want to, this is if they want to, they won't be the ones to blink. Now, if they decide that it's not worth it, then they would pull out. But I'm pretty sure. I just can't believe that all involved didn't know that there was going to be a massive counter offer.
Yeah.
But once again, you got the one of the 2 sticking points is the foreign money that a lot of people are going to have a problem with, and the other problem is that they've lowered their Paramount's assessment of the linear networks is far lower than what Warner Brothers believes it is. So that's why they've had to come up with the money. So I don't know. I'm exhausted of it at this point. So because not only do we have to get to this point, not only it could end up being the wrong people. I think Paramount is. I don't think there's any right people, but I think Paramount are the wrong people. It could end up being them, and even then, you got another year-long process. Even if they speed it up, you got and I just don't like the way they do business. To be honest with you, I mean, the Ellison family and Skydance, they're just a turnoff to me at this point.
Again, like I said, I've gotten the impression from this is the first time in his entire life that David Ellison's been told no about anything.
Yeah, he was pretty much born rich.
He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, clearly.
And not saying that anybody who's born with money is like that. There are plenty of people who inherit money that were not like that. Listen, the first generation of Walton kids do nothing but fly around the world dropping money on people. Bud Walton, I believe, died in an airplane crash delivering food to hungry people. He was a multi-billionaire. Just because you have money doesn't mean you're evil. Roberto Clemente was a rich baseball player for the Pittsburgh Pirates, an active player, MVP. I mean,
Who
I
was the
was
guy?
great.
Who was the CEO of Nike that it was the guy Ben Affleck was in the Air movie?
Yeah,
Uh,
Roberto
Phil-
Clemente crashed in an airplane delivering money to delivering stuff to third world countries. He didn't have to do that. Phil Knight is a
yeah, there.
major philanthropist. But Bill Gates, Melinda Gates is pledged to give away almost all of her shit. Warren Buffett says, what am I going to do with this? I can't take it with me. So just because you have billions doesn't mean you're a piece of shit. There are some people though who are, unfortunately. So the money is not what's doing it. It's the people. And being born into money doesn't necessarily mean anything. Look at this. There's Kennedy kids, Carolyn Kennedy Schausenberg. It does nothing but raise money for people. So there's you can have money. It's the person. It's the person. It's not the money.
He's Ellison's like very much embodying the spoiled rich kid stereotype with this merger.
Yeah. So I would rather it be Netflix. I think Netflix isn't done yet as far as I don't there's no, if a dummy like me knew a hostile takeover was coming, trust and believe that those very educated motherfuckers knew this was coming. So
well, I think you have to again. I let's go back to also the letter they sent, which was like that now kind of reads to me almost like a preamble or like an opening salvo to like a hostile takeover because and again, as we talked about in the air, we read that. So, I mean, it really amounts to them just whining that that somebody put up a bigger bid than they did. And like, I mean,
at least they did the right thing. I mean, they turned around and put a bigger bid up. Paramount came out and said, "Here's our all cash." I'm not like I said. Once you started
the first time.
Well, they didn't think Netflix was going to make that move.
It's true, yeah.
But I just like I said, I got a major problem with how this is going down and the tone.
If Warner Brothers, if they wanted to say, I mean, like this is kind of what William was saying. We were reading that letter. I mean, if I put in a bid tonight, I told Warner Brothers, "Hey, I'm offering you $10 for the studio." If they decide, okay, Brad gets it, it's like it's way lower than any of their bids. I mean, it's like it wouldn't make a lick of business sense to do it, but they say, you know what, we like Brad, we're going to do it. Like that's their prerogative as the seller. It doesn't make any sense.
And also, they're going to have to pay. If Paramount wins this, they're going to have to pay the stock price that Warner Brothers Discovery thinks that the linear networks are worth, not $1 a share. They're telling Warner Brothers Discovery, your CNN, TNT, and all that's worth $1 a share. And Warner Brothers Discovery, Dazzloff, is saying, no, we think it's worth 3 times that much. And if you're not going to give us that much, then we're going to sell this company, and then we're going to get the value that we think in a different transaction. So, but like I said, they said they're going to respond to this in 10 days. I think that Netflix, I do believe, I have nobody on the inside, obviously. I think that Netflix was prepared for this.
Yeah.
And I actually personally think that Netflix has earmarked the money for a counterbid because there's no way that they thought that they probably did a psychological profile and everything else about this and said, this is what this guy, because you have people like that. When you're in games like this, you have people like what, because you have to be able to guess what this guy's going to do next.
No, I mean, these guys, they read the Art of War by Sun Tzu, for preparing for stuff like this.
It's like the Godfather.
Paramount Scarlet Letter. Yeah, kind of is. She's also got a couple comments here.
I think people will have gotten over the letter and looked at the number and say, okay, this is a pretty big number, 108 billion. Both companies are overpaying for what they want, but it's their money.
Well, then Warner Brothers is like, if you're overpaying, like we'll take it. I mean,
and
Australia was part of the signing of the surrender of Japan. Unfortunately, Australia was a part of Germany's surrender. America's always Australia's partners, while the UK is never really. Yeah.
Well, because Australia solely fought in the Pacific Theater. That's why. All the dignitaries that fought in the Pacific Theater. That's why Eisenhower wasn't on the USS Missouri, even though Eisenhower, he was pretty much the top general in that war. But he fought in Europe. He was the commander of Allied forces in Europe, and MacArthur was the 5-star that was in charge of all the Pacific. That includes everybody that fought under them. So that's why Australia wasn't there in Malta or whatever when it was Berlin when they signed that, because the Australians did not fight in that theater, and vice versa. That's why the Philippine everybody who won when it was VE Day, it was the generals that fought, Zhukov, all the Russians, all the generals that fought in that theater. And when it was VJ Day, it was all the generals and allies that fought in that war. They just did it that way. So Australia would have only been part of the war in the Pacific. All right, I think that's about it. I'm tired of talking this fuck. This merger just makes my head hurt because it throws things in disarray. It throws things in I don't like the uncertainty. I just want this shit to be over. Because once it's over, I thought this was over, but then again, I should have known that I still think that it's going to end up being Netflix if it comes down to accessible money, because now you're telling, if I'm Netflix, I come back to you, this is our money. This isn't money that we're going to have to pay back with interest. This isn't money that we're going to have to lend out control to these certain groups. This is Netflix money. We borrowed it, but it's ours to pay back. It's our money. Here's if they come anywhere close to that, and then the whole regulatory concern is not a big deal, because I told you they were going to call that bluff. I said that. You think that Ted Sarandos and David Zaslav aren't on the same backbone that he's on, and you think that particular individual can't be wooed? The last guy who talks to him has the best chance of getting whatever they want. And he's gonna wait. He doesn't have a favorite. He's gonna wait to see who's in the lead, and then he's gonna make himself look like a kingmaker. So you won't hear from him till the end of the game.
Yeah.
But if to me, in my opinion, if Netflix wants it, they can get it. It's a matter of, do we want to go? We're all paying a higher value for this company than it's ever been worth. This company is being if it ends up as being sold at a higher valuation than the last two times it was sold.
And this is, I mean, God forbid we're in this position for it, knock on wood, like, it's getting sold again. My colleague Stephen Colbert was talking about that. So, I think,
it's not going to get sold again for a long time, because each time it was sold before, it was devalued. Now it's been valued. It's going up and you could literally fit the last purchase of Warner Brothers within this twice. So I like I said, if Netflix wants it, I still believe Netflix will get it. It's just a matter of whether their people say, do I want to pay? Do we want to drop? Do we want to match this? That's all.
How much longer do you think Paramount tries to hold out on this?
They only have I think you're going to get another offer from Netflix, and then it's going to be over, because he said in 10 days we're going to respond to your hostile takeover. Because they presented their bid to these directly. That's what a hostile takeover is. Yeah. So they've sent it over to them. So even if there are people in Warner Brothers Discovery's board that say, we like the Paramount offer, they're not gonna finalize it, because they're gonna, what they're gonna do? Unless they're fools, they're gonna turn around, look at Netflix, and say, what you got? And Netflix is gonna have to decide and be like, you know what? Like I said, we're already overpaying for this. How bad do we want this? And if they want it, they can outbid them.
Yeah, and I'm starting to also come over your side on this now about Comcast was never they were just
Comcast.
Because when was the last time you heard of it? They're not trying another bid. They're they kind of receded from the conversation before.
They knew exactly when their limit. They knew exactly how much to bid and get the fuck out, because they never intended to buy it. Now look what's happened. Now you got these two doing the work for them.
Yeah,
because and remember, you still got billions of dollars in debt that come along with this. So not only is Paramount purchasing the company, we're only talking about the value of the company itself. We're not talking about the debt that comes with that company. And I just think Netflix, with the revenue they pull in, nobody's pulling in $4 billion a month like they are. Nobody. With the revenue they get in, I think they're just in a better place to absorb that without hurting the company. I don't think Paramount, because even though the Ellisons are worth $350 billion, not all of it is liquid. Not all of it is something that, they just reach into the safe and grab. and they're not going to want to spend their own money. So I think there's a limitation. I think both sides have their limits. I'm going to guess that if Netflix just wants it, they can come out with what's called a knockout bid, to where you don't need to come back to the table. You just got knocked out from the table. And that's like a bid matching whatever they're offering plus more. And then what Netflix needs to do, they need to get out there and make their case, because I'm actually starting to believe that they are buying this company as a distribution wing so that they can get into the theatrical wing without dragging Netflix into it as a company. And if they can make those assurances, I think it's going to be a lot easier, because I think coming down to the day, I think people are suspicious of when it comes to a lot of foreign entities buying American. It's been that way since the 80s, when Japan and China were buying a lot of U.S. real estate. A lot of people were skeptical, and they got kind of racist about it too. But that was the 80s. But it's been that way throughout history. When you have other companies buy America, all this, you get the average person that hears that, they're like, well, I like I said, nothing against the Saudis can purchase whatever they want. I'm just not a big fan of having any foreign entity, by the way, not just the Saudis. I don't care who I don't care if he's even one of our allies. The fact that there's a news agency involved and a public facing media company involved, that's where the sticking point gets to me, because that's how society connects to its public, the internet, media, things like that. And when you start having people with agendas, wherever you group them or not, involved in this, you start getting skewed results. So I'm looking closely at all this, and like I said, I got people in government that are literally supposed to to take a look at this. So hopefully they get it done.
Really did fight in Europe. Our grandfather fought the Nazis. Yeah, our grandfather did fight the Nazis.
Shut up. Yeah, but that was Australia's assigned, because of their political their geographic positioning was if you look at the list of when you look at the war in the Pacific, the majority of people who fought in Australia, as far as I know, like I said, you're there, but as far as I learned in school, Australia was a Pacific theater. Australia was a Pacific theater. They may have. I'm not saying it didn't have people fight but the vast majority, because of where they were located, we had bases. I mean, just where you were located, you were closer to the Pacific Fleet than you were to Europe. You were literally in the Pacific Ocean there. So yeah. Let's see. But it's just like the Marines. The Marines fought primarily in the Pacific Fleet with the Australians, and the Army fought in both. But when it came to the Pacific Fleet, it was pretty much the Marines. And then you had
You're saying you Google Tobruk. I'll hold it up right now and just Google it.
Yeah. No, I'm not saying there were no Australians in there, but their primary theater.
Here we go. Yeah, Tobruk refers to a strategic port in Libya, famous for pivotal World War II battles, especially the 1941-42 sieges, where Allied, mostly Australian forces defended it against the Axis powers. Already the name Rats of Tobruk for the resilience. It also refers to small, reinforced concrete bunkers built by Germans during World War II, named after the city, and inspired war films and games.
Yeah, I know this, but look, scroll down, you'll see who they were replaced. They were rotated out of there. It should tell you. Go down. Because that was at the beginning of the war. That was between 1941 and 1943. Towards the end of the war, hold on, it should. Yeah, they rotated those guys out of there. Because the Australians were there when they were fighting Rome and all that. But
now we've got actually some new information here in the chat, which is Australia doesn't actually even exist. So how do we even? Australia. And this is coming from an Australian. Yeah. We just found out Australia doesn't exist. How is that? How is this possible? It's got past me all this time.
US WW2 participation. Yeah, it breaks down in maps, and I'll show you the world. Yeah, Australian Army units were gradually withdrawn from the Mediterranean and Europe following the outbreak of the war in Japan. However, the Royal Australian Air Force and Royal, and that's a little bit different because you have air assets, and Navy units personnel continue to take part in the war in Germany and Italy, which is where you're bringing up. But there is, as far as like the actual, the bulk of their forces, yeah, they rotated them out because of the fact that we strategically needed Australia and Australia bases and everything else to be able to carry out the war in Europe. Yeah, no, they were. Yeah, listen, dude, you're not going to find me. Even Roosevelt wanted this in that war at the beginning. Remember the Lend-Lease, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But the American, we were isolationists at that point. The American public did not want another war. This was too close to World War One.
That is so. I mean, it shows you how much like generationally, it took us getting directly attacked and jumping in the war.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I can't even imagine like. So if a conflict like that were going on today, it's like we probably would have like been like one of the first players in it.
Churchill tried for 4, 5, 6 years to get us involved in the war. He did, and Roosevelt wanted to, but he couldn't get it past the Congress, and he couldn't get it past the American people. So yeah, we joined in 1941, and we were pushed into it. But once we were, there you go. you bought, just like Tojo said, you have awakened, or Yamamoto, you have awakened the sleeping giant. And once we were involved in the war, our manufacturing power alone was something that neither country could keep up with. And we could hit them with people, and we could hit them with armament. We could hit them, we turned our entire country into a giant war factory. And that's what won us the war.
And then after Pearl Harbor, what was it, like 4 days later? That's when Germany just strolls up to the capital and says, hey.
Let me rephrase this for you. They didn't fight during they weren't fighting in the European theater when VE happened. When they weren't the primary belligerents in that war. They just weren't. Not when the victory happened on either side. By the time August 1945 happened, most of those forces had already been moved to the Pacific. So when they won the war in the Pacific, that's where they appropriately would have been, because that's the primary theater of operations where the Australians were by that time of the war. They didn't win the war in 1941, 1943, even if they fought there. Like that article, like I just brought up, when you bring up, and I can bring that to you right here. By the time the war in the Pacific, after the war in the Pacific broke out, the Australians were rotated to the Pacific Fleet, to the Pacific War. There you go. So they wouldn't. When we're signing a document of surrender, it's going to be the people who are fighting primarily in that theater that are going to sign that. They're not going to. Yeah. So just like I said, MacArthur and all the dignitaries that were there that were fighting that war, all the generals were fighting that war there. And then in Europe, you had those. That's how they did it. That's just ceremonial. You'll never see that again because we'll probably never fight a war like that on the Fourth Voice. But
God forbid, yeah.
Yeah, it's not on wood. But
and actually, William just also linked to the Australian World War II Wikipedia, so that gets a little more back.
Yeah, and the pilots stayed. Now the pilots were differently distributed because you had Army pilots. We just had. You had the Marine pilots, which is a much smaller elements than the Army Air Corps was. So Army was flying, in Europe and Japan, but it was the Navy and the Marines that did the bulk of the air power that wasn't bombing. And then because they were there, they were stationed on carriers, they were stationed on bases, they were stationed, they were stationed in places where they could take off and they could, and they could bring their forward, but your Royal Air Forces they fought in both, but your main theater of war was, like I said, in Australia. It was the war in the Pacific. So, MacArthur is seen as a god in Germany. Mm-hmm. MacArthur was seen as a god in Japan. You go to Japan, MacArthur was by the time he left Japan, he was he was not hated. You think somebody would come in after that situation would be hated. MacArthur wasn't really hated, and America loved MacArthur. They didn't like Truman. They didn't really, with how that went down with Truman, even though technically it's the way things are supposed to go down. But MacArthur was probably one of the most loved generals in the history of the military, to be honest with you. And MacArthur in Australia, I mean, they literally fought side by side with what they considered a god, the Philippines. And then, he was just that guy. And then when he got forced out of office, that's what I thought we can, when it came to yeah, I got what you mean. But yeah, man, the World War II, I am a World War II junkie. My grandfather fought in Berlin, was in Berlin. I was born in Berlin.
And my grandfather lied about his age to enlist, as a lot of American men did during that time.
World War II, literally, I have my roots based in World War II because of my grandfather. I was born in the city that we fought over.
That no longer exists.
In a Cold War. I mean, the Cold War, to me, I'm a big Cold War junkie because I grew up in it. I literally am a Cold War baby. My dad was there because of the Cold War. After the occupation was over with, the West Germans said, wait a minute, we need to come to some agreement to where you stay. You're the only thing keeping the Soviets, from coming across Checkpoint Charlie. So we stayed. And it was the same thing. Once we rebuilt the economy in Japan, that occupation ended. But we had become so much of a part of their economy. And then, you had during the Cold War, they wanted to, everybody wanted to keep everybody where they were because now it went from World War II to the Soviets in China influencing. If you look at where China did, they influenced literally right after World War II, they influenced the Korean War. And then years later, Vietnam. So if you're Japan, having Uncle Sam, there's not a bad thing. So, but yeah, I grew up as a Cold War kid. I grew up on an Air Force base, man, watching them stupid ass films that were fucking useless. And we knew it then. Duck and cover, face away from the blast. Oh, okay. Yeah, so I can die. Yeah, I can die in this position. Thank you. That's just tell us it's over. If you see a flash, first of all, time out. Fuck it, it's over. If you see a flash, you are moments away from dying. Okay?
Getting melted, yeah.
Melted or blinded for the rest of your life, or becoming a shadow affixed to the ground forever. All right, so none of that shit was like
because I didn't have to. A few years removed from like the generation of kids who had to do like drills for that in school. Did any of the kids at school like buy that too? It's like, oh, we get it at our desk, so like this will do it.
Nah, because our parents told us it was bullshit. The teacher that was teaching it told us it was bullshit. This is you're talking about multi-megaton bombs that are aimed at your base because every strategic base on the West Coast.
This okay, we got a desk.
Yeah, you may be able to get into the bunker. You may be able to do a lot of things, but if you're anywhere near ground zero, you're done. Okay. So yeah, we knew that was bullshit. My dad told my dad said, hey, so what do I do if he just dies? That's all you're really gonna do. If you're out in the open when it happens, the only positive about it is it's you're gonna get vaporized. And then if you're near the way the Satans and all those bombs that they had, it wasn't just ground zero. You're talking about fallout, and you're also talking about the blast radius. The blast radius of a nuclear weapon it can literally crush your body from thousands of feet away. So even if the radiation doesn't get you, you're talking about a wave of just crushing.
Well, and that's why
blows coming to you. It's like, whoa.
That's why you were now, and now of course nukes have advanced since World War II, but that's why I always I do really like the Wolverine, but the opening is bullshit. Where it's at the I think it's not Hiroshima, it's Nagasaki, or where he grabs the soldier and says, okay, jump down this hole and put like this metal like cover over us. Like Wolverine can take it, of course, but the idea that the soldiers.
I'm sorry, Wolverine. Okay. Wolverine's healing factor works if there is flesh to heal. That blast is blowing the meat off of that metal skeleton of his. And if you think I'm lying, X-Men 142, all it took was the blast from the Sentinel's hand, which was far less powerful than the blast that hit him there. And all he is bones.
Yeah, well, there's like at least one example of the comics where he's regenerated from just being a one drop of blood at one point. So he's got.
Yeah, technically he can, but it depends on how you want to write him. During the Claremont Byrne era, he can only heal to a certain extent. He's not like Deadpool who can like.
Well, like when he started, like his
and
first appearance in the Hulk. I mean, his healing factor was he could heal wounds over the course of like 2 days. And then
that's basically what it evolved over the Byrne years. It evolved to where it's almost instant.
Yeah, when they actually introduced kind of a canon reasoning for like why it accelerated so much. I thought it was actually pretty clever with like the fact that he's experienced so many injuries, like his body's adapted to and his healing factor's gotten stronger with how many.
Well, it's like an immunity. It's explained like it's like an immunity, but it also, as he gets older though, it's supposed to wane. But who knows how fucking old he is? So
yeah.
But yeah, there's all kinds of nuclear bullshit that it's like, dude, you watch that shit on TV, that's okay. If that lulls you to sleep at night saying everything's going to be okay if something happens, it's not. It's a word. That's why these worlds have even the most vicious despots who have nuclear weapons know not to turn that key. They know not to turn that key. China, we've only used 2 nuclear weapons in the entirety of the history of man. And that was within 4 or 5 days of each other. Hasn't been used since. And people know why. The Russians aren't going to launch because they know we're going to launch. China's not going to launch because they know we're going to launch. None of the people who have weapons, even the crazy Pakistanis down there in India who constantly, threaten each other every day, they know not to do that. They know it's mutual assured destruction. Is what we grew up knowing. And that was the safety net. Nobody wanted to be the person that led to something because it's neutral. The Russians launch and we launch. That's it. It's over with. It's over with. That's why it was called a Cold War, because it could never turn hot. If it ever turned hot, it was going to end. I literally grew up in a society that could end on some fucking bonehead making a mistake, and it almost happened. There was a Russian submarine, a guy who was watching he was monitoring the Russian nuclear response, and it was a solar flare that messed with the radar system, and it looked like a launch, but he figured out that it wasn't because they were about to launch weapons. So it just, you got to realize it was just so sensitive then, and we had so many nuclear weapons. You don't need the Soviets the Russians have 7,000 nuclear weapons. You don't need 7,000 nuclear weapons.
I remember. I forget what exactly this was report. It was it was during like his original tenure of the Daily Show, and he was reporting on this one development where it's like the U.S. and Russia agreed to minimize their nuclear arsenal to like 1,500 warheads per country, and he's like, only 1,500 nuclear warheads each. That's barely enough to completely wipe out all life on Earth 7 to 12 times over. Yeah,
I mean, you need one for every major city in the Soviet Union at the time. And you would need one. You wouldn't even have to have one for every major city in the United States. If you hit the coast, if you hit New York, you hit Washington, and you hit LA, you hit the, you're pretty much you pretty much done what you needed to do. So you take out Moscow, you take out St. Petersburg, you take out. There's not a lot in Russia that produces a lot to where you would need to take out. What, Siberia? You're gonna blow that up? What's that gonna do? So you don't need 7,000. Yeah, you don't need 7,000 nuclear weapons to do that. Once both sides would have turned the key, the first launch phase, there would only be one launch phase for each country because there wouldn't be anything left. There wouldn't be any power because the the magnetic pulse that comes from those things is going to wipe out everything. You're not, depending on what you should do, it's over with. It's over. You're literally bombed yourself out of civilization, which is why it hasn't happened, which is why those things are safeguarded to the point where, as much as I love Crimson Tide, as much as I love that movie is great. That's one. I think that might be one of my favorite Gene Hackman movies. Definitely one of my favorite Denzel Washington movies. Most of that movie is bullshit. There are so many other safeguards in places and certain procedures that you do. You ain't launching no nuclear weapon off an incomplete message. It's just not happening. And you have redundancy too. You have just like and then Denzel was right, and he was right for the right reasons. Is because just because we can't, if we don't execute the order and there was an order supposed to be executed, there are other people within the fleet that can. Not everybody's comms are going down at the same time for the same reason. So there's redundancy. So if I give the USS Alabama the order to launch these missiles and these missile packages, and they can't do it and they haven't done it, obviously I'm going to know if they did it or not, because that whatever your target is still there. Then there's redundancy. Another submarine or another part of the Trinity, either by air, sea, or land, is going to make that strike. And that's when Denzel Washington was exactly right. That captain would have known that. He wouldn't have had to. Nobody would have had to been restrained and taken to their quarters and sneaking around and stuff. But it was entertainment. I was all for it. Now, if something happened to that ship and another order is coming through that might supersede that, then they would not have launched. Somebody else whose ship was intact in communication would have taken the ball for them. So, but it was Hollywood. When we fucked around with a lot of nuclear shit in Hollywood, war games, I'm like, no, that's never happening. But okay, it's Matthew Broderick, it's fun. But yeah, it was Hollywood. Hollywood took it, but we used the nuclear specter to make a lot of money in a lot of movies in Hollywood. Hell, the day the Earth stood still. Once we started launching nukes, fucking aliens came down and said, we're gonna wipe you out. You guys are fuck you guys. You are not leaving this planet. Fuck you. We will wipe you out to make sure that you don't take your crazy asses with your nuclear weapons out to other planets. That would be a disaster. And you know what? The aliens are right.
Yeah.
So,
the statue of MacArthur here in Australia in his office has been left untouched since he left.
Yep. And he's got an office in, I think it's an office in Okinawa too. Yeah, Stanislav Petrov. Yeah, Stanislav Petrov.
Of course, we got to do a watch party at the Flash at some point, because I'm tired of people dashing on this movie.
It's not the worst movie. I mean, it's not the best circumstances for a movie to be made and released. And I will agree there, but I don't, given the circumstances, it could have been a much better movie. Yeah. But given the circumstances, and we don't need to go into that because I don't feel like getting wound up.
That's why I feel like give it a few years.
Yeah. Go give it some. Maybe somebody revisits it and corrects it. Who knows? All right, guys, that's it. We're out of here. I will be doing a review of Absolute Batman number 15. I do not know when my interview is going to take place, because it's going to be a very wild week for him. It may not take place till the weekend after all the dust settles, but keep an eye out for it. Going to be a busy week for me, so like I said, I will get in where I can, as far as having some conversation with you guys. But for the most part, it's going to be touch and go until after the holidays. And we got one last episode of by the way, your stats can get, by the way, the amount of people that watched this last episode of Welcome to Derry with us. The problem I've been having with when we stream live during that time of day is the majority of people are watching on Twitter, and they're not carrying over. That was not the case this past Sunday. We had 540 people that actually watched on YouTube for episode 7, which is a massive 200% jump from that. So we will be watching the season finale probably at our normal time. But hopefully we've gotten enough of you that came over from Twitter and want to stay with us at that time. Then it's on to the next watch party. I don't know what the hell it is. I'm tempted. I've been going off back and forth. I think with Forth about this when it comes to Stranger Things. Who knows? I may do a marathon. I know on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day or New Year's Day we might add the climax of at Stranger Things to our usual long New Year's Eve celebration. So who knows for the FSP. So, all right, guys, have a nice morning. Have a good Wednesday. Happy Absolute Batman number 15 Wednesday, and we will see you the next time we see you.
You guys.